Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So you can see what I'll be eating. But how is everyone doing this Wednesday? Over here in New Jersey, it's a little bit dreary and rainy, but it's still kind of nice because the temperature is fairly warm. I'm not sure what it is, but it feels like in the 50s. So I'm going to say the temperature is in the 50s. So even though it's dreary and rainy, it's still kind of nice. Feels like early spring. And I'm having a good Wednesday. Just got done with work for today. Um, I had a nice work day. So everything's going well. Um, for those of you who were here on Saturday, we made this flatbread. And I wanted to show you this because I remember telling you how you could leave the dough in the fridge for a few days. So I made the dough on Saturday with you, and we made two of them, right? We made two batches. And I left them in the fridge because I just had so much bread from, everything that I always make. So I just left them in the fridge until this morning. So it's been 4 days, I believe. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 days. Made them on Saturday. Today's Wednesday. And I left the dough in the fridge for 4 days, and it worked fine. So I think I told you last time on Saturday that I can leave the dough at least 3 days. It's now at least 4 days. So it's a good easy recipe if you want to batch it ahead of time and leave it in the fridge for later and make them fresh. And I made them this morning. I don't remember how long it took me, but it wasn't that long. And then I had bread, and it's still pretty soft. I made it on my stove, my regular stove top. That's a gas oven. For those of you who were here on Saturday, you know that I had trouble with the electric oven. For some reason, these weren't coming out like as good as usual, and they still tasted fine, but something was off. But these came out perfect. So for those of you who are here on Saturday, this is how it's supposed to look. It's not supposed to look like either like all brown or not brown, but like black or not done at all, right? It's supposed to look like nice and brown like that. So that was just my stove, I believe. But yes, this is before I get ahead of myself, for those of you who weren't here on Saturday, this is the Spelt sourdough flatbread that we made. You could see I didn't make a recipe for it yet because I think people were really interested in the peanut butter cornbread that we also made on that day. So I did that one first. That one, the sourdough peanut butter cornbread, is up on my blog, jerseygirlbreadshop.com. And I also have shorts and a long form video on YouTube. And the short is also on my Instagram Reels. So follow me on, I have other socials, but there's just too many of them. So I really just try to update Instagram and YouTube. So follow me on those two socials if you want more updates. But yes, this is what we made on Saturday alongside the peanut cornbread. Now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it. I don't have the stove here today because the electric portable stove, because I don't need to heat anything up really. I'm just going to eat it cold. Zoomy. But I feel like this tastes fine cold. So this is a remoulade, you can call it. I made it with the peanut cheese that I made. The peanut cheese is with raw peanuts, so it doesn't taste like peanut butter. You can make it with sunflower seeds or cashews, right? But if you don't have that, and you're like, what are you talking about? Just use mayonnaise. So this is with the peanut cheese that I made, Tabasco, and capers, and that's it. It's really simple. And I'm going to put some of this on. Yeah, and it's everything I make is plant-based. So if you're wondering, yeah, that's why I made my own cheese out of peanuts. Only a vegan would do that, right? Now I also have in here a vegan crab cake that I made. I don't have a recipe for this yet, but maybe eventually I'll get to it. But see here, let me show you before I put it on my sandwich. It's soft. There you go. So I made it with the pulp from the nut milk that I made. So there are things you can do, like if you make your own nut milk and you end up with the pulp left, it's like the fiber. There are things you can do with it. A lot of people make cookies with it, but I made this crab cake with it. I got the idea because a lot of people make crab cakes with the pulp from the soy milk, but I haven't really seen it with nut milk, and I thought it would work kind of similarly, and it did, so it worked out really well. It's a really good base because it's like kind of has the same kind of texture. I don't know how to describe it, but it does have a similar texture, and it works out really well. So yeah, that's my vegan crab cake. And then I have arugula here, so I'll put some arugula on for hashtag health and texture. I'll just use the rest of this. If anyone is eating with me, let me know in the chat what you're eating. Obviously, I'm eating a crab cake on the flatbread we made not too long ago on Saturday. So I just wrap it up like this, knead it like it's Thank you, Bob. It is delicious. I've had it before, so this is not the first time. This is not my first rodeo. So yeah, I just wrap it up like it's almost like a little taco. I use the flatbread like this quite often. So I just put things in it and wrap it up like it's a little taco. So when I was a kid, before I went vegan, I don't know why, because I feel like now I'm a hit or miss, but I loved seafood. And by hit or miss now, I mean like veganized versions of it. But like sometimes it's just so nostalgic. Like chickpea salad for me is just bomb. Like no matter what, I love chickpea salad. Which for those of you who don't know, chickpea salad, I don't just mean salad with chickpeas. I mean like a faux tuna salad. So they mash up the chickpeas with mayonnaise and make it like a tuna salad. And this crab cake is just like always nostalgic. It's really the Old Bay seasoning. Honestly, it's the Old Bay seasoning. And of course the texture, but really I feel like it's the Old Bay. It just makes it taste like a crab cake because honestly, this tastes like a crab cake. Like this is basically a crab cake. I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference. Although I've been vegan for a long time, so maybe I'm full of it. But I think I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Yeah, so 2 big thumbs up from me. And like if you made this flatbread or you're considering trying it out, yeah, and you're wondering like how would I even use it? This is how I use it. I just like put stuff in it and wrap it up, or I might like leave it flat and like put toppings on it that way. But I usually think I just wrap it up like this, like it's almost like a taco. Anyone in the chat, are there any foods that are like nostalgic for you? Like I know a common one. Crab cake probably isn't that common. Maybe on the East Coast it is more common. As a nostalgic food, I feel like more common might be macaroni and cheese or hot dogs or tomato soup with grilled cheese or something like that. But everyone's different. Everyone's different. Yeah, I feel like tuna salad, always good. We do chickpea salad here in this house. Crab cakes. There's probably a lot of other ones. I mean, of course, mac and cheese and stuff like that is nostalgic. It's mac and cheese, but if it tastes like Kraft mac and cheese, it'll bring back memories. Yeah, so anyone in the chat, if there's anything, any food that's nostalgic for you. How's everyone's week going? It's the middle of the week or halfway to the weekend, which is fun. Fun. My week is going well. I got a lot of work done this week because yesterday the professor I work with called in sick, so the class got canceled. And I got to do. Bob says he's doing good. That's good, Bob. That's really good. Anything exciting going on this week? Yeah, the class got canceled last week, which is why yesterday, which is why I was able to update the recipe yesterday for the peanut butter cornbread, which is live on jerseygirlbreadshop.com. So I was able to do that because of some extra time. But other than that, yeah, it's going well. Nothing to complain about, you know. My fig tree over here is, maybe I'll show you when I'm done eating. My fig tree over here is regrowing some of its leaves, which is good. That means spring is coming. Really, that means spring is on the horizon. Is what that means. I like these so much. I'm making more crab cakes this week. So my husband also wanted more too. So I'm gonna make more peanut milk for another project. So more crab cakes. Bob says, I was thinking of making a pizza this weekend. Maybe I'll just put some vegetable toppings in your honor. Thank you, Bob. I would love to see the pizza that you make and the vegetable toppings. I don't know if you can. I don't think you can put pictures in the chat, right? I guess you can put a link to it in the chat. I might need to get a something like a Discord or something where people can post their pictures of what they eat and stuff. I might have to do something like that. I'll figure that out. I'm new to this. I don't really know how to use Discord, but I am actually on Discord now because I'm helping my sister with a project. This is the first time I've been on Discord, but it's a video game project, and I'm not a gamer. Some of you might be gamers. I know this is Twitch, and Twitch is home to a lot of gamers, but my sister's a gamer, and she's actually working on a video game, and I'm helping her write for it. And I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I'm not sure how much she wants other people to know about the inner workings of it, but she's working on a video game with her friends, and I'm helping her write for it. So I'm in the Discord for that. And that's my first time. That's my first time on Discord. So I kind of know how to use it now. So maybe we can make a Discord for this channel, and people can share what they cook and what they bake and stuff like that in the Discord. Oh, you don't have to share. Bob said he doesn't like sharing pictures. So you don't have to share pictures if you don't want to. It's your private life, right? You know, I know everything. You know, the line has been blurred. I'm saying this as I'm streaming myself eating on Twitch, right? So I'm part of the problem, but the line really has been blurred between the private life and the public life to a large extent. So I don't really fault you for wanting to keep some things private, Bob, even if it's just your pizza. I understand. Okay, Mom asks what I'm eating. Okay, Mom. So I ate half of it already. It's been 15 minutes, so you know what? I'm eating slow for me, okay? So it's on the flatbread we made over the weekend, and there is a vegan crab cake in it, and arugula and a remoulade I made. So that's what's in it. The vegan crab cake is made with the pulp from making nut milk, the leftover fiber. That's the base of it, and I don't think you can tell the difference between this and the crab cake. I'm gonna have to make it for you because I think you would like it. So yeah, crab cake. It is really good. It's I was just saying before, it's really nostalgic. Like um these types of foods I used to like a lot when I was younger, crab cakes and seafood items. And it really tastes like that. I mean, it's really the Old Bay seasoning, I think. The texture too, but the Old Bay seasoning just makes it taste like a crab cake. So if you ever want something to taste like a crab cake, just put Old Bay seasoning in it and you'll get there. You'll at least get halfway there. What did everyone else have for lunch? If you ate lunch or if you're going to eat lunch. By the way, Munchkin, you can see Munchkin in this shot. So that's cool. What are you doing? He's just sleeping. So yeah, what did everyone else have for lunch if you had lunch? Unless you're intermittent fasting and you're not eating lunch, or you're doing OMAD and you're only eating one meal a day. Okay, mom said hot cocoa with espresso. That's not lunch. That's a snack. That's a drink. Bob said I ate chicken legs and I just ate rye bread with cream cheese on top. Yeah, rye bread's really good. I love rye bread. Oh, well, okay. It was a protein drink. Okay, mom says that's a little bit better than just hot cocoa. It was a protein hot cocoa. Okay, I'll let it slide. Yeah, that sounds really good, Bob. I don't eat chicken legs, so I can't really attest to that, but rye bread with cream cheese does sound good. Is anyone watching anything on TV or any good movies lately? Last night, my husband and I watched Adventure Time again. We're still in season one. I don't. I used to watch it a lot when I was younger. I think there's a lot of seasons, like 10 or something. I definitely didn't watch all 10 seasons though. I know I didn't. But we're on season one. But we just watched the episode Rainy Day Daydream, which is such a classic. If anyone in the chat like watches Adventure Time, you probably know which episode I'm talking about, where it's raining knives. So they have to stay inside because it's raining knives, and they have to use their imagination. But then whatever the dog Jake imagines comes to life and it becomes actual, and it's just really funny. There's this one part that I think is hysterical, that my husband thinks it's hysterical, that I think it's hysterical. They're on the bridge, and Jake imagines a riddle master, like a troll with riddles. But the thing is, in the episode, everything that's in Jake's imagination, the dog's imagination, you can't see it. So us, the viewer of this cartoon, we cannot see what's in Jake's imagination, so it's invisible. So he imagined this riddler, and the way the I guess camera, not a real camera, but you understand what I mean. The cartoon camera is like keeps like going closer to what would be this character, but the character is not there, right? You can't see it. So that makes me laugh. And then like the riddle that the Riddler gives is something like what is something like what is difficult, but also a riddle. And then Finn the human, the main character, says this riddle sucks, and then the Riddler goes, wrong answer. This makes me laugh. Wrong answer. But I guess I'm easily entertained. That episode is just really good. It's really funny. If any of you can relate, if you watch Adventure Time, I'm sure you can relate. But what are you watching? You might be watching something maybe more adult, like, and by adult I don't mean like adult content. I just mean like not made for children than I am. But let me know in the chat what are you watching? What's or reading? You know, that might be interesting. Okay, Mom said Resident Alien. What's Resident Alien about? I heard about it because you told me about it, or you told my husband about it. But I don't know what that's about. Is it about actual aliens? Is it like that movie? Now I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name of that movie now. The movie where the aliens came. I never remember. There was like a group of aliens, and they lived in like shanty towns. They lived in like slums, and it was a political movie. Like, so the aliens were being treated like, I guess, second class citizens, and there was like racism against aliens. There was that. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a movie, and it was in the comedy. It was a serious movie about being racist towards aliens. Now, okay, Mom says that Resident Alien isn't like that. It's a drama comedy about an alien that takes a human form and plans on taking over Earth. It sounds like Invader Zim. See, I was just saying, maybe you guys are watching, content made for adults, but then I'm realizing that the content made for adults is just based on the content made for kids. It sounds like Invader Zim. That's funny. It's probably funny. Does anyone remember Invader Zim? I haven't seen that in a really long time. Invader Zim was about an alien pretending to be a human, and his I'm pretty sure his conquest was to take over the world. But the joke was he was kind of an inept alien, and the other aliens sent him down there because they didn't really care about Earth, and they just were just like, yeah, you can go. They just wanted to kind of get rid of him. But Invader Zim was like, he's really gung ho on invading. But one of my favorite episodes is is when Invader Zim decides that in order to be more human, I shouldn't say this while I'm eating. I don't care, but maybe you guys are eating. But I'll say it anyway. Invader Zim decided in order to be more human, he needed to have human organs because he didn't have human organs. And so what he decided to do was he was kidnapping children, because not only was Invader Zim a human, or pretending to be a human, he was pretending to be a human child, and he'd go to school like with the other children. So he's kidnapping the children that he went to school with and eating their organs. So I thought this was hilarious as a kid. I still do. But I don't know if Resident Alien can top that, but I'll have to check that out. That does sound funny. But yeah, the classics. I don't think they'd make cartoons like that these days. I'm not sure what the kids are watching, but I feel like it would probably be more sanitized than Invader Zim. And I was saying that yesterday that I think the kids shows would be more sanitized than Adventure Time. Like at Adventure Time, they say the word sucks. Like I just mentioned, they said that riddle sucks. Um, there was like a bazooka goblin at one point. They couldn't see the bazooka goblin, but they were like, "Oh no, there's a bazooka goblin," and they're just like, "Don't shoot us with that bazooka." And I thought that was funny too, but I don't think they'd have a bazooka goblin in kids shows now. But I don't watch kids shows now. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that's all we've been. I try not to watch too much TV. Sometimes my husband and I watch something when he gets home, something short. Like the cartoon is good because it's pretty short. Usually the episodes are only 15 minutes. So I think that's like the only thing we've been watching. But yeah. Um I don't know if anyone else watches or remembers shows that they watched when they were younger. That might make them feel nostalgic. Or if any of you have kids, you can let me know if like the shows now are similar or different than what was going on when or what was on TV when we were younger. That might be interesting. Well, while there's a lull in the conversation, I'll let you know what we're going to do this weekend. If everything goes according to plan, on Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to show you how to make Irish soda bread. I want to do a plain Irish soda bread because I had one of you wonderful followers, ask me about making like a bread that was didn't require rising, and I said soda bread. Now, a lot of soda breads that are made here in the U.S. are sweetened and have raisins in them, but you can't really use that for much because it's like cake. It's basically cake. And I want to show you guys how to make a bread. So the Irish soda bread that's made in Ireland is traditionally like well, I wouldn't call it a lean dough, but it's not sweetened and it doesn't have raisins in it. So I just kind of want to show you how to make like a basic one, and then you can always add raisins to it if you want or make it sweeter. But I want to show you how to make a basic one that you can use for both sweet and savory things. So I want to do that on Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. But yes. And I'm going to use a sourdough starter in it, but you don't necessarily have to. You just need something that's sour or acidic to activate the baking soda. But it's traditionally made with buttermilk. But I'm not going to use buttermilk. I'm going to use a nut milk plus a sourdough starter to acidify the milk. And then, the process will be very similar. Yep. If you're interested in that, come here, come join us on Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time for some Irish soda bread, just in time for St. Patrick's Day, which I think is in 2 weeks, probably less than 2 weeks now. So yeah, that'll be fun. Does anyone here like already like Irish soda bread, or already has eaten it? Maybe likes it, doesn't like it. I really like Irish soda bread, but I find it's a little more cakey, like I said. So it's kind of more like a snack than like a bread, but it's still really good. And it is much quicker than making another type of bread that requires a rise. But since I'm so used to the sourdough now, I prefer like the fluffy, airy breads to like the denser breads. Oh, Bob, you've never eaten it. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so basically what makes it different, it's called Irish soda bread because it's made with baking soda instead of yeast. So most breads are made with yeast. I use, sourdough, but sourdough is basically wild yeast. But baking soda can also make things rise. A lot of cakes and stuff are made with baking soda, for example. So it's called soda bread because it's made with baking soda. And yeah, it's popular in Ireland. I believe the reason is because they didn't have very good flour for the original reason was, and now it's just popular because it's like tradition, and it has like a cultural significance, I would say, like a national or cultural significance. But originally, I believe it was popular because um, they didn't have good flours to make good breads, so they just started making uh, breads with the maybe less optimal flours, but with baking soda. That's what I believe was going on. Bob says I also never knew that about baking. Yeah, yeah, baking soda and baking powder are both used to make quick breads uh, and cakes too. And those are things that you can bake right away. Like you mix it and then you put it in the oven, right? Because it doesn't need to rise outside of the oven because it has the baking soda and baking powder, which will rise, which will help the dough rise in the oven. In fact, baking soda, it activates right away. So you want to get whatever you're making into the oven right away. Baking powder is double activated, so it'll activate with the heat. So that you can be a little more lenient with. You can put it in and, take your time, put it into the dough, take your time, and then put it into the oven. But baking soda, you have to get the dough in as fast as possible. But then yeast is different. Yeast is actually like it's actually a living organism. And when you put the yeast, like you buy those little yeast packets right from the store, it's alive in there. And that's why it expires, because the yeast will eventually die, but it's alive in there. And so what you're doing when you put it into your dough is you're actually feeding the yeast. And as the yeast is eating, it's expanding the dough. It like almost like those little bubbles are like little yeast farts. Right? As it eats, it expands the dough. And oh, Bob, I'm assuming, Bob says maybe I'll make the pizza dough that way and use milk instead of water. Bob, I'm assuming that the pizza dough you're using uses yeast, and that's what I would suggest. You can try it with baking powder. I think it would still work, but you're going to get a better texture for pizza dough with yeast. Um, that's how it's traditionally made. It makes it fluffier and airier. And like I was just saying, like the yeast, you can try with baking soda or baking powder. It'll still probably work, but it's going to be a denser texture. If you come on Saturday, I'm planning on making the whole thing here and showing you the final product because it shouldn't take very long. So you can see the outcome of what happens when you use baking soda instead of yeast. But like I was saying, the yeast is eating the yeast is eating the ingredients in the dough. It's almost like pre-digesting it for us, and then it's like almost the bubbles in the dough are like yeast farts, right? And so that's what makes the dough rise. And you end up with just like, it's actually it's transformative. It transforms the dough, right? It transforms the nutrients in the dough. It makes the nutrients actually easier for us to digest and absorb. And it transforms like the texture of the dough, and that's what makes it light and airy. The yeast farts, if you want to call it that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I prefer baking with the yeast. I don't use the yeast packet, but I do use the sourdough, which is basically wild yeast. Um, but for certain things, you use baking powder. Like for muffins, you use baking powder. For cakes, you use baking powder. For things like banana bread and pumpkin bread, you use baking powder or baking soda. And then for the soda bread, we're going to use baking soda, which will is what is going to make it rise. So we'll see on Saturday how it comes out. And if you come on Saturday, you can see how the baking soda is going to work differently. And I'm sure I'll have some bread lying around that I made with sourdough. So we can do a comparison to see like the different texture that comes out. That's a good idea. Thanks, Bob, for giving me that idea. Just to show yes, baking soda will do it quickly, but there's a reason why people, if they want a certain texture, they would wait for the yeast instead. But yeah, it's gonna be fun on Saturday. Everyone should come. So there's a squirrel. I know this is off topic, but there's a squirrel, probably multiple squirrels, but let's just say for argument's sake that it's one squirrel that runs back and forth on the electrical wire right outside my house. And I shouldn't say I think, I'm fairly certain that the squirrel is building a nest somewhere, probably on the fire escape, because they're always on the fire escape. As he's carrying leaves. He or she, it's carrying leaves and sticks and stuff in its mouth and running up and down here. It's really cute. But if I look up, I might be looking at the squirrel. Yeah. He's a cutie. But I hope its nest turns out nice and strong on the fire escape. Has anyone else seen like the animals getting ready for spring? Like, are the birds where you are building nests and things like that? The birds here are always doing something, but they're probably doing more now. But there's so many birds where I am, and I always see them doing something. But when I go outside more, I should start because it's already getting nice out. But during certain times of like the season, you'll see different birds, which is kind of fun. I don't know all the names of the birds. There was this one man who I forgot what he volunteered. He was an older gentleman. He volunteered for some kind of nature organization. I sometimes saw him in the park, but he sometimes bought bread from me, and that's how I first met him. And then sometimes I just see him around because Bayonne it's a city, but it's pretty small. But if I've heard a question about birds, I'd always ask him. We take pictures of the birds that we found in the park, and we'd be like, "What is this bird? We've never seen this bird before." And he'd tell us like, "Oh, this bird is migrating right now, and that's why you're seeing it now, but you didn't see it like a few weeks ago." So that's pretty cool. I don't know too much about that, but I like. I'm always willing to learn more, and I really like birds. I don't know too much about them, but I like them. That also reminds me, when my husband and I went to LA a few months ago, and he's originally from LA, so that's why we were there. And whenever we're there, I'm always so excited to see the crows because yes, we have crows here, but there just seems to be so many more crows. And last time we were there, we actually had just gotten back from another trip to South Asia and Southeast Asia. And there we saw this crow called a big billed crow. I figured it out because I took a picture of it and like did a lot of searching of what kind of crow it could be because it was just such a huge in Southeast Asia. It was a huge crow. It was huge and it had this big beak. And I thought maybe it was a raven, but it was a big billed crow. And I'm like, okay, so it's still crow, it's just a different type of crow. Now, when we went to LA after that, I noticed that the crows in LA were huge. I was like, they kind of looked like the big billed crow that we saw in Southeast Asia. They were huge. And I never noticed it before how big they were. I guess I never did the comparison. Bob says, and they steal everything shiny. Yes, they steal everything shiny. But they're so cute. I like them. They just want to collect things, you know? They just want to put things in their collection. Yeah. Magpies do that too. And so do what these were actually. We had to do some research. I did some digging. And it turns out that the crows that I was seeing in Los Angeles are actually ravens. They were ravens. They weren't crows. And then I was like, oh boy, they're ravens. And then we're just, quoting Edgar Allan Poe the whole time we're there. But that's why they were so big. They were this compared to the crows that we have here in New Jersey, which I'm pretty sure is just the American crow. They were huge. And I'm pretty sure they were just the American raven, like the standard American raven. But yeah, so long story short, I ID'd. I'm not usually good at IDing birds, but I ID'd some crows and some ravens during my travels. The urban birds I ID'd. Yeah, so if you're ever in Los Angeles and you see a lot of crows, some of them might be ravens and are probably ravens. Yeah, but I actually really like birds, and I like crows and now ravens because now I know what to look out for when I'm IDing a raven and a crow. It has to do with the size. It also has to do with the shape of their beak and like the their feathers as well. I forgot, but they have different feathers too. So there are ways to tell them apart. But I think the easiest way is the size. Like ravens are just much bigger. We also had a few years ago. This is, I guess, another animal story. We had a possum when we went to LA that would just wait for us at the door. So we were in an Airbnb, and we actually stay at this Airbnb quite often. The host is very nice, and she always keeps it open for us when we ask in advance, of course. And so, but the Airbnb was like it almost is like a tree house. That's kind of what it feels like, but you have to go upstairs to get to it. So when we'd come home. It was already dark. It wasn't too late, maybe between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. So home as in the Airbnb, and we'd walk to the back where the stairs are, and we'd look up because it was the type of stairs. They were wooden stairs that had slots in it, so you could see through it, and we'd see the little feet. It was a possum climbing up the stairs. I don't know if he's looking for food or what, but it was a little one too. It was a baby, maybe like an adolescent. I don't know, but it was this little one. And we gave it grapes once, but it was afraid of us. But it always went up this. It always waited for us up the stairs. So we had a pet possum. Every single night it was there. Every single night. And then we gave it grapes, and then it would run away. So that was our pet possum for, I don't know, 3 or 4 nights. We had a pet possum. Unfortunately, that was a few years ago, so the possum's probably no longer with us, but at least maybe its babies are here, or at least in California. But yeah, that's our our pet possum story. Does anyone else have like animal stories like that, like, or times where you had close encounters with wildlife, good or bad? You usually shouldn't feed the wildlife, by the way. Do as I say, not as I do. I also once, this was, my goodness, over 10 years ago probably. When I was in college, we had, and where I went to college, it was pretty, I guess it wasn't rural, but it was more rural than where I live now. So there were farms and like across the street was a horse ranch and things like that. I would still say it was suburban, but a little more rural than where I am right now. And there was lots of wildlife, and we had groundhogs. But groundhogs also are very afraid of people. But a groundhog had made a little home right in front of my dorm. The dorm, it was like a college apartment. Oh God. Okay. It was a college apartment, and so you probably seen how those looked. It was like separate, so it wasn't a big dormitory. It was like separate college apartments. So there was a groundhog right in front of my college apartment, and I could see it from my window. I could see its hole, and I could see it going in and out. So I think at one time I left a watermelon out, and he did eat it. I just left it there and then went back inside and waited and watched him come out and eat it. But yeah, that was also my pet groundhog. One summer, I had a pet groundhog. And then Bob said, I once tried to pet a wolf when I thought it was a dog while it was out for a walk. Bob, can you remind me where you live, where you have this wolf problem? You live in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you live in Europe. I think that's what you said. But we don't have wolves here, so I've never had that problem of accidentally petting a wolf. Finland. Yeah, okay. Are there lots of wolves in Finland? Is this like a major issue that people run into wolves at the park? So where I am in New Jersey, there are coyotes. There's no wolves. There are coyotes, there are foxes, but even so, you don't really see them unless you live somewhere really rural, like in the woods. You hardly see them. I saw a fox, I think, once, and I crossing a highway once. But it's pretty rare. They're there, they're out there, but I've never heard somebody accidentally petting a coyote in the park. And coyotes look a little bit more like dogs in terms of their size than wolves. I think wolves are just, I've never seen a wild wolf, but I imagine they're huge. I imagine they're huge. Here comes Munch Munch. Bob says it's not a problem, but just lives in the same area and often follows if you walk. Okay. I'm assuming there is no you said it's not a problem, so I'm assuming that there's no attacks, wolf attacks. That would be kind of scary. But I mean, people are always afraid of coyotes. I think coyotes are more of a problem for your small pets than for humans, from my understanding. Like they would probably steal your chihuahua. They probably won't bother you because you're too big. But be careful if you have a chihuahua. But yeah, I don't hear about it very often. Bears you hear about, but even that, I don't hear about like bear attacks. You hear bear sightings. When I was a kid, I remember we lived somewhere more rural than here again, and there were bears, of course, and you know, if there was a bear outside, we weren't allowed to go play outside, which is understandable. But where I am now, it's like there are no bears here, so it's not a big deal. Munchkin's eating lunch too. So he's joining us now. A little late, but he's joining us now. Yeah. So Munchkin's my cat, for those of you who don't know. He is 15 years old, which is pretty old for a cat. But as you can see, he's doing okay. I'm just eating lunch. Do any of you have pets? Or want to have pets? Or used to have pets? Bob says, I think wolves are wiser than we think, and that's why they don't attack someone who might cause problems. And if it is separated from the pack. Yeah, Bob, that's a good point. I mean, animals usually stay clear of humans because we could cause problems. Like, we could fight back, we could have a weapon, and most animals are somewhat aware of that. I know there's sometimes the opposite problem where some types of animals get self-defensive. Like there's this type of bear in I believe we were in Sri Lanka, so I know it's in Sri Lanka. I don't know if it's in India too. I forgot what the name of the bear was. It's a little bear. He's kind of cute, but he gets very self-defensive apparently, and it's this bear is way more dangerous than other animals. Like the bear is more dangerous than like a leopard because the leopards don't bother you usually, but this bear like gets really defensive and like it's more likely to attack humans out of self-defense because it just sees everything as a threat. I guess it's threatened very easily. So yeah, I've heard of that happening, but I think most animals, even the ones that are kind of dangerous, like a leopard or a wolf, usually will stay clear of humans because we're also dangerous. But yeah, that's interesting that you go to the park and you see a wolf, though. I never imagined that. When we went to the park in Thailand, we saw monitor lizards, which is really cool. And then when we went to the park in Sri Lanka, not only did we see monitor lizards, there are monitor lizards there as well, but then there was also fruit bats, like flying foxes, the really big ones that have a 5-foot wingspan. And then there was also the monkeys. I forgot what kind of monkeys they are, but they're endemic to Sri Lanka, so they're only found there. But they're little monkeys who are just stealing food and sitting in the. So in Sri Lanka, they had a lot of offerings to gods, and most of the time it was just like rice. It was like piles of rice, and the monkeys would sit in the offerings, and eat the rice, which I thought was very disrespectful of the monkey. I mean, doesn't the monkey know that's an offering? And also the squirrels would steal it too. But the monkeys were really funny. The monkeys were really funny, just sitting in the rice. So I mean, that was a cool experience to go to a park and see all of those animals just hanging out. But a wolf also, I never imagined just going to the park and seeing a wolf. I would not suggest feeding the wolf. Not suggest it. This angle is so funny. Okay, you can see Munchkin is just sitting there waiting for me. That's what my cat does. He sits there and waits for me. Bob says, that's why I wanted to pet it because the wolf was so relaxed and walked beside me. But when I stretched out my hand, I realized that there is a limit and then it jumped into the forest. Yeah, Bob, don't pet the wolf. Nobody pet the wolf. Because it's a wolf. And we're not in a cartoon, unfortunately. But yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just gave you most of my wildlife stories. the good ones. Anyway, I just like I said, relatively recently, went to Sri Lanka, so that was a lot of wildlife there, especially the monkeys and the bats. That was really cool. Um, but like local to me, New Jersey, wildlife. We get things like I think one of the uh scarier, I don't know if scary is the right word, but more intimidating wildlife is actually the wild turkeys. Wild turkeys can can be pretty intimidating. Okay, they're actually pretty big. If you've ever seen a wild turkey, they're pretty big, and they you know they just look like they're ready to fight. Just got to be careful. I saw one when I was in college, and like I said, I went somewhere more rural than this, so there was more wildlife. And I waited for it. It was crossing the road, and I waited for it to get off the road before I walked past because I was just like, I don't know, I don't trust this turkey over here. And I think I did. I think I made the right call. But Bob said your cat listens to the wolf story with interest. The cat is waiting. The cat is waiting for me to go and pet him. Probably he gave up. You can see him right there. He went back to lay down. He's like, I'll just lay down and then I'll get back up when I think she's gonna be ready to pet me. So yeah, that's the cat. He's done that. He does it more now since he's getting older, but he's always kind of been like that. He's always kind of been like that. And then Cole Forbin 33 says, "Hey there, Cole Forbin. How are you? How was your week going so far? Welcome to Midweek Toast. We did start an hour ago, so I did finish my meal. I'm a pretty fast eater, but I think it took me almost an hour to eat it, which is very slow for me because I'm talking to all of you. So basically, I'm giving myself a pat in the back for eating it slowly. But I did finish it, but I'll let you know what I had. So I had a vegan crab cake patty with a vegan remoulade that I made with arugula. And I put that all on my sourdough flatbread. And it's a sourdough flatbread that we made last Saturday. So I wanted to show you how to use it. So every Saturday. Oh, okay. 1 second. Every Saturday we're going to make sourdough, something with sourdough at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And Cole Forbin says, "Good. I lived in Jersey City for 6 years. Now I'm down in central New Jersey. Love to see some New Jersey representation on Twitch, though." Oh, Cole Forbin, that is so funny. So I work in Jersey City now. I was just there today. What part of Jersey City did you live in? I was in Journal Square. And so I'm familiar with Jersey City. I'm assuming maybe you lived in a nicer spot. Maybe you live downtown, which is a little nicer than Journal Square. But yeah, I work in Jersey City now. And I live in Bayonne. I'm a little south of that. So it's good to have you here, fellow Jerseyan. New Jerseyans have a lot of pride, so it's good to have you here. But yeah, so like I said, every Saturday we're going to be making something with sourdough. And this week on Saturday, we are going to make a sourdough Irish soda bread. So if you're interested in that, come by and stop by and see what we're doing. Cole Forbin says, "I went at Montgomery and Grove facing City Hall." Oh yeah, okay. But worked with an org on JFK Boulevard for a while. Okay, yeah. That's nice. Wow. Yeah, so that's pretty much downtown, Montgomery and Grove. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's downtown facing City Hall. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's nice down there. It's really expensive down there now. Maybe it was a little bit more affordable when you... Yeah, downtown, that's my head. my math in my head is correct. Um, I'm not sure if when you were down there, it was a little bit more affordable, but now it's basically like living in New York City. Like you might as well be living in New York City. That's how expensive it is down there. Yeah, Culverbin says I could not afford that place these days. It's nice though. I was there yesterday. No, on Monday I was there. I met my friend down there. I had to do some chores anyway, and she lives in New York City, and she wanted to meet up. So I said, okay, meet me down there. And it's nice. I told her, oh, it's nice. Um, we can go to a cafe, get drinks. We can get lunch, or well, I guess dinner at that time, because there's plenty of stuff to do there. And it's like almost like she forgot like what it was like. I've took her down there before, but she was taking pictures of the streets. She was like, "Oh, it's so cute. Let me take a picture." And I was like, "Wait, you've been here before." She forgot. She forgets that, like I said, she's from New York. So, and there's a lot of beef between New Yorkers and New Jerseyans. So I guess she forgot that there's nice places in New Jersey. I don't know, but for those of you in the chat who are not from New York or New Jersey or the area, I know some of you are from Europe, which you might be like, what are you talking about? And you can let me know in the chat if there's like a similar type of thing. I think this goes on everywhere you are, no matter where you are in the world. But there's like a playful animosity between New York and New Jersey. Like, even though we're neighbors, and I think the culture is actually pretty similar to a large extent. There's like some kind of beef, like New Jersey's like considered like a garbage dump to New Yorkers, and to some New Jerseyans, New York is considered like a hellhole. And Colferbin says New Yorkers come to Jersey City to go to Taqueria on Montgomery and Bread Street, incredible tacos. Yeah, Taqueria, I know where that is. I have been there. I have been there. Yeah, so like Colferbin said, New Yorkers come to New Jersey all the time and vice versa, but there's still this kind of like animosity, but it's playful. I remember, so my friend's boyfriend's from Staten Island, and for those of you again who are in Europe or somewhere else, Staten Island is technically in New York City. It is part of New York City, but it is kind of out of the way from everything else in New York City, and it's actually pretty close to where I am right now. It's pretty close to New Jersey. So I was like, Staten Island is basically New Jersey. I kind of think it is. I think the culture is kind of more similar to New Jersey than probably some other places in New York City. And the accent even is more like a New Jersey accent, like a Staten Island accent sounds a lot like a lot of the people I know around me. So, and I was saying it's basically New Jersey, and he was like getting like pretend mad. He's like, don't say that, don't say it's New Jersey, and I'm like, it is New Jersey. It's 100% New Jersey. But yeah, anyone in the chat from somewhere else, if you feel comfortable, you can let me know if there's something similar where you live. I'm sure there is. Because everywhere, I think everywhere has that kind of kind of playful fighting. I know when I lived in Boston, I'm not sure if it's quite the same thing, but there was somewhat, well, there's different areas in Boston itself, like people from the south end of Boston and stuff like that. But even more so, I think there was some kind of interesting thing going on between like people from Massachusetts versus people from New Hampshire. And I think it might have been somewhat similar. Like I think people from Massachusetts seem to think that people from New Hampshire were kind of like, maybe kind of like, this is not a nice word, but like hicks, maybe like maybe white trash or something like that. And I don't know. I didn't know too many people from New Hampshire, so I'm wondering what they thought of people from Massachusetts. Maybe they thought they were stuck up or something. So that's another example of of some kind of dispute like that. Oh, hello. Yeris. I'm going to try to pronounce how it's written, but let me know. Yeah, Yerzy. Oh, okay. Okay. Yerzy, welcome to the chat. Introduce yourself, if you feel so inclined, and let us know what you know. And call Furbin. I didn't ask you this because we were talking about New Jersey, but you can let us know too if you are already a baker, you already like baking, or if you're new to baking and you know want to learn more. What would you like to learn about baking? And Yerzy said, I'm a fellow vegan from Toronto and I liked baked goods. Oh, hello, fellow vegan from Toronto. Welcome. Yeah, so I shouldn't say I didn't. I finished what I had for lunch already. It did take me almost an hour, which, like I was saying before, is good for me because I'm a fast eater. So pat on the back for me for eating it slowly. But I had a vegan crab cake with remoulade and arugula on a sourdough uh, flatbread. And the sourdough flatbread we actually made on stream on Saturday. So every Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, I make something different. Oh, that's a good question. I'll get back to that real quick. But every Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, I make on stream something with sourdough. And this week, we're going to make sourdough Irish soda bread. So stop by if you're interested. And everything, of course, is vegan because I am. So everything will be vegan. And now, Yerzy asked, what is a vegan crab cake? I forget that not everyone knows what a crab cake is, even though I was just saying this morning to my husband that crab cakes are pretty common in the East Coast, but I'm not sure about everywhere else. And Kofer Bin says, I'm not much a baker, but so appreciate watching baking. Really impressive. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Baking is it's an art and it's also, it's also just a skill. It's really fun. It's really fun to do. So I hope you can, learn something by watching on Saturday. Today I'm not baking, but on Saturday, it'll be fun. So, but what is a vegan crab cake? So first, let's go back to what is a crab cake, because crab cakes are not usually vegan. Obviously, they have crab in them. So basically, crab cake is just like almost like it's a patty. It looks almost like a burger. They're usually smaller than burgers, but you can make big ones. And it's essentially like crab meat mixed with like breadcrumbs and maybe mayonnaise and maybe vegetables like red peppers. And they make a patty out of it, and it always has the quintessential flavor that you need is Old Bay seasoning, which is a seasoning blend that's common here. You might be able to find it in Toronto, but it's very common here on the East Coast of the United States. I believe it originates from Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, which is, I don't live in Maryland, but it's fairly close to where I am. So it's kind of like a cultural thing, I would say, in the Mid Atlantic, and also probably New England too. Probably has crab cakes. And the Mid Atlantic region is just like New Jersey, New York, Maryland, probably Pennsylvania too. I'd say is the Mid Atlantic region in the U.S. But so it's a cake. It's not like it's not a cake like a sweet cake, but it's like a patty kind of cake made with crab meat. Now the vegan version I used so I made nut milk. And so, if you make your own nut milk, you end up with pulp. And that's just the fiber from the nuts. And usually I just compost it, but I wanted to try to do something with it. And I got this idea because I have seen before people make crab cakes with soy milk pulp. Like if you make the soy milk and use that pulp for crab cakes. And I figured that it would be the same thing. So I tried it with the nut pulp and it was good. It's perfect. It tastes just like a crab cake to me. And it's really, the Old Bay seasoning is doing a lot of work, but that's okay. Because in the original crab cake. I mean, crab itself doesn't really have a flavor, so the Old Bay seasoning is doing a lot of work in the original non-vegan crab cake. But yes, so that's what a vegan crab cake is. I should have explained it earlier too, because I don't know if Bob or other people in the chat knew what a crab cake was either. But yeah, that's a crab cake. It's actually I was asking this question before, but not everyone was in the chat. So Yursi says, do you have to shape the pulp into pieces of crab? You don't, because a crab cake is usually mashed up anyway. So you can't really feel the pieces of crab in it. Bob says I've heard of it but never eaten it. Yeah. So you might be seen it online. People making crab cakes. But no, because the crab cake is usually pretty mashed up. So when you bite into like a crab cake, you can't really feel the texture of the crab. Crab is kind of like soft and flaky, but really it's mostly soft anyway. So it ends up working fine. The texture is actually pretty perfect. It's pretty spot on for a crab cake. But yeah, should I should send everyone a picture of a crab cake. I ate the last one, but I'm gonna make more this weekend because it was so good, and my husband also requested more, so we are making more. Yursi says they sell fake crab here. I wonder if I could try with that. Yeah, you could probably try with that. You know, if you look up online, I don't have a recipe written out for this yet, but there are plenty good recipes, vegan recipes online for vegan crab cake. And I'm sure you could find one that, you know, is suits your budget and what you have. I know I've made it before with zucchini. I don't know if she has this recipe online because I used her cookbook for it, but it was Isa Chandra Moskowitz's recipe, and she does the post punk kitchen. I'm sure you've heard of her. She's a classic. I don't think she's as active as she used to be, but you know she's like an OG vegan from like the 90s. So I used her recipe for the zucchini crab cakes, which is not the same recipe I followed for this one. Like I said, I did my own thing for this one, but that one is delicious. So if you have access to that one, you can use that one, or there's plenty of probably really good ones online. The thing that I would try to get, or you can probably try to make your own mix. I know there are recipes online for making your own spice mix, but if you could find Old Bay seasoning, that's really going to make the crab cake taste like crab cake. A traditional, if you want it to be a traditional crab cake, Old Bay seasoning really makes it taste like crab cakes. And I was asking before, but not everyone was here before. I was saying while I was eating that crab cakes for me are kind of like nostalgic. I know that's a weird food to be nostalgic. And like I said before, maybe not on the East Coast because, you know, their crab cakes are pretty common here. But it doesn't sound like a kid's food, but like I loved it when I was a kid. And I was asking, Bob says you are a nice person. Thank you, Bob. I like to think that I'm a nice person. Yursi says Amazon has it. Amazon has everything. But I was saying before, like, if there's any food that you guys find nostalgic too, any foods that might not be like traditionally nostalgic, I was saying like I used to like seafood a lot. Obviously I'm a vegan now, so I don't eat real seafood anymore, but like a veganized crab cake, or I make chickpea salad a lot, and chickpea salad is not just salad with chickpeas in it. I mean like mashed up chickpeas with mayonnaise and vegetables, like a tuna salad. Usually I use carrots, red onions, and celery for it because that's how I used to make the tuna salad. So yeah, stuff like that's kind of nostalgic for me. So it's kind of funny. Like I don't eat these types of foods that often, but when I do, I'm like, this reminds me of like something my mom would make me. So if there's any foods like that you guys want to share, I asked this question earlier, but I'll ask again to the newcomers. Yeah, usually going back to these are foods I used to like when I was younger a lot, like crab cakes. You'll see if you follow for more of these, you'll see that my taste palette has gotten kind of odd as I gotten older. So I really like my favorite kind of toast, which I will probably make again in different variations, is a spicy peanut butter toast. I decided not to do that this week because I thought that was enough. I thought 2 weeks was enough of that, but I wanted to show you something different. But I believe the first week I did the midweek toast, I made an achari peanut butter toast. And all that means is I used Indian pickle spice in the peanut butter. And then I also put a bunch of toppings on it too. It was a savory peanut butter toast, but and spicy. And then the second week, I think I made peanut butter and uh, beet green sauerkraut toast. And basically, I fermented the beet greens as if they were cabbage, like for sauerkraut. And it's delicious, by the way. If you guys like beets, but you're throwing out the beet greens, stop. Okay, you need to use the beet greens. Beet greens aren't my favorite greens, so I understand. They're kind of wilty. They wilt easily. They're kind of delicate. They don't taste the best. If you ferment them, they taste so much better. And you just need to ferment them like because they're delicate. I ferment them for a week or less. If it's summer, you can ferment them for less time, and it's so good. And I make this peanut butter and it's savory. It's spicy too because I put a little bit of cayenne in it. But peanut butter and beet green sauerkraut toast, and it's so good. So those are not things that I would eat as a child, but I quite like now. My taste palette has changed, but like these types of things, like the crab cake, I would have definitely eaten that up as a child. And if you gave this to me when I was a kid, I probably would not have known that it was vegan. I probably wouldn't have cared either and just eaten it up. But yeah. Yursi says, don't think I ever had beet greens. Do you buy beets, Yursi? Because sometimes they don't come with the greens on them. Sometimes they just give you the bulbs. Like if it's not beet season, they might not have that much. Oh, Yursi says in a jar. So they're already cooked. Maybe they're pickled already. Yeah, if you buy them fresh, um, you'll see they come in like this big bowl, and it'll be a bunch. So usually there'll be like 3 or 4 bulbs. Those are the roots. But the really fresh ones, which are the ones I usually go for if they're available, also have the greens that are still on them. And a lot of people throw out the greens or hopefully compost the greens. Hopefully they're not throwing them out. But the greens have a lot of nutrients in them and they're totally edible. But they're not my favorite green. So I kind of get it. I prefer like kale, cabbage, collard greens are better for me personally. The beet greens are very delicate and they're kind of like spinach. They wilt really fast and they get all mushy. But like I said, the fermenting them like it's cabbage for me is the way to go. And I also said that week, I think that was 2 weeks ago I did that. That if anyone is interested, I know people who are sometimes interested in sourdough are also interested in fermenting in general because sourdough is a fermented dough. I could show you how to ferment something. So we can do beet green sauerkraut, or we can do pickled beetroots, or one of my favorites, which I also have in the fridge. I almost forgot I had those in the fridge. I have fermented cranberries. And yes, fermented cranberries. And they're delicious, and the fermentation actually makes them less sour. I think most of you in the chat know what cranberries are. I think I asked this last time. But cranberries are a very sour berry, and most people don't eat them raw. Most people eat them into like a... Yeah, Yursi says, not my fave. Most people don't eat them raw. Most people cook it down and put a lot of sugar into it to make it into cranberry sauce, which is like a jam. They call it cranberry sauce, but it's a jam. And I don't really like cranberry sauce. Okay, I think it's a little too sweet. I can eat them raw, but even better, if you ferment them, it just takes away some of the astringentness. Like it's still sour, but it's not as like pucker sour. And it tastes like talk about nostalgia. If any of you were kids, I don't know. I'm sure they still sell these. I think they still sell them. I don't know. But warheads, they taste like warheads, is what they taste like. So they're like, it tastes like sour candy or sour Skittles. Maybe a little bit more sour than sour Skittles. But yeah, I can show you how to do one of those things. Bob says cranberry, I like them straight from the bush. Bob, me too. It's you and I against the world because I think most people don't like them straight from the bush. Talk about story time, because 2 years ago, time goes by so fast, but I'm fairly certain it was 2 years ago. My husband and I, actually, my mother and my stepfather were there too. We went down to the Pine Barrens. Now, I know if the Jersey boy's still in here. I'm looking to see what is. Yes, Cal Forbin. If he's still in here, he knows what I'm talking about. The Pine Barrens in New Jersey. Yes, Bob, reds are usually sweeter than the light-colored ones, I think. The light-colored ones usually aren't ripe yet. All the way ripe. But if you're not familiar with New Jersey, which I don't assume you are, and Culperbin knows where the Pine Barrens are. Yes, the Pine Barrens are a wooded part of New Jersey. It takes up like almost a third of the state. So believe it or not, New Jersey is a third pine forest. Yursi says, only Jersey Shore. I talked about that on stream like a few weeks ago, so we could talk about the Jersey Shore again. Pine Barrens the Pine Barrens are actually pretty close to the shore. It's a little bit more inland, but it is south, right? So it's 1/3 of the state is a pine forest. And I mean, there's a lot of myths and legends about the Pine Barrens. Like, for example, the Jersey Devil, which I also talked about on stream already. But, it's a good story, so you can always tell it again. But my husband and I went down to the Pine Barrens, which is where they grow a lot of the cranberries. So we were on this. It's actually it wasn't like it is a farm. It was a cranberry farm, but it was also a nature preserve and an historic site that we're on. And I emailed whoever runs it, whoever's in charge. I emailed them ahead of time and asked when we could come, and they told us like they're not there on Sunday, but you can still come on. So I was like, oh, okay. So nobody was, though there are some people taking walks there, but the stores and stuff weren't open because they have a farm stand, right? That wasn't open. But, we could still come on the property. So on Sunday, we went on and we went and saw the cranberry bushes. Now, they had already harvested the cranberries, and you could see they had already harvested the cranberries. The bushes were empty, except not all of them were empty. Yeah, Bob, I think are you talking about gooseberries or there's lingonberries that are similar to cranberries that are sour like that? But anyway, so, and I'm saying this, Bob, because I remember we mentioned it last time, and I was saying that I'm surprised you had cranberries in Finland because I always thought of them as an American thing, and I didn't know they grew them other places. But they might. I don't know everything, but it's actually, cranberries are actually native to where I am now in New Jersey. I think not just New Jersey, like up the East Coast, but they're native to here. So anyway, there's a cranberry farm. We're on the farm. They had already done a cranberry harvest, so we missed the harvest. So I was like, oh, I can't believe we missed the harvest. I wanted to see it. But we went, and there were some cranberries left on the so they have these bushes, and on the sides of the bushes, like just on the edges, there were little cranberries just on the edges of the bush. and we just took some of the cranberries that were on the edges of the bush because they had already harvested them, and those were like the ones they missed because I'm pretty sure they use a machine to harvest them, so the machine just probably missed the corners. So we got some cranberries that day, and I was very excited about that. So that's my story of what we did in the Pine Barrens is we got some cranberries. Bob says they grow in a big bush and look like grapes. Yeah, if anyone knows what type of berry that is, let me know and let Bob know. I'm not sure. Like I said, they look like grapes. Cranberries actually are big like grapes. Bob, gooseberry. That's what I said. I thought it was a gooseberry. I don't like gooseberries as much as cranberries, but they're both sour. So they are similarly sour, but I like cranberries personally more. And Yursi asked, why do I always see the cranberries swimming in water? Yeah, they flood the fields before they pick the berries because it's easier to pick. No, that's okay, Bob. It's okay. I know I'm talking too fast. It's probably why you didn't hear. So Yursi asked why they're swimming in water, the cranberries. So they flood the fields. So the cranberry fields are like in, if you notice, they're like kind of look like they're indented, like they go down. So that's why when I went and saw the cranberry fields, they were not flooded. So they were like, I can't think of the right word for it. But if you wanted to go into the cranberry field, you had to like go down into it. When they're harvesting it, they flood the fields so that way it's easier to pick the cranberries. The cranberries are buoyant and they naturally float up. So that's why they do it. So that's why you see them all the time in water. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they grow them. I'm sure they grow them in Canada. I'm sure of it because they grow them in Maine. Yeah, you're see it saves on labor. Yeah. But I don't know about near Toronto though. They probably grow them near the coast if they do grow them. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they grow them somewhere in Canada. But yes, cranberries. Cranberries are great. But yeah, the Jersey Shore. So you only know the Jersey Shore. I'm assuming that's from the TV show. That's the joke you're making. So what's funny about that? Yes, Bob. That is a really, really common drink combination. He said cranberry juice and vodka equals good. That is a very common drink combination here. Yeah, Yursi says berries are mostly in Atlantic Canada, I think. Yeah, I feel like it would be by the Atlantic. Yeah, that's where it is here too. It's on this side of the U.S. But yeah. So the Jersey Shore. Most New Jerseyans don't like the Jersey Shore. I guess nowadays it doesn't matter because is it even on TV anymore? I don't know. But when it was popular, when it first became popular, like over 10 years ago, most New Jerseyans didn't like this. It was wildly, I mean, I'm sure if we watched it, I didn't watch it personally, but I'm sure we watched it for the drama, right? But most of the people on the show were not from New Jersey. The pier, are you asking about the seaside pier? The pier is pretty big. I don't know how many, it might be, is it 2 miles? I'm going to say it's 1 to 2 miles. Maybe. I don't know. It's pretty big. There's like the boardwalk goes down and there's like 2 parts to it. I'm assuming you're asking about the boardwalk. I don't know, unless I'm lost. But there's 2 parts to it. So like the whole boardwalk, I'm gonna have to do a road trip to the Jersey Shore. That'll be fun. The whole boardwalk, like walking all the way down it, is probably about 1 to 2 miles. But the piers themselves going out are pretty short. But they're big enough to hold like rides and games and stuff like that. But I digress. So most New Jerseyans didn't like the Jersey Shore because most of the cast members, think except one, were actually from Staten Island. And remember, I was telling you about the beef we have with New Yorkers? This didn't help that. So most of the people on the Jersey Shore were from New York, and and you know, and I described the show before as gym tan laundry. I was describing it to somebody who had never seen it, and I guess that's what some people do when they go to the shore. They go to the gym, go to the tanning salon, do laundry, and I guess get drunk at night and then repeats. That's what I'm assuming happens on an episode of the Jersey Shore. But essentially, it was so well known that during the time it was popular, I studied abroad in France. I was in college, and if I told people, French people, native French people, that I was from New Jersey, they knew the Jersey Shore. They would be like, "Oh, like the Jersey Shore." So it was that well known that we were internationally known for the Jersey Shore. Now going back to Yursi asked about the pier. So actually it's funny because that's the pier, the seaside park pier. That's where me and my family used to go every summer. We used, even before the Jersey Shore, when I was a kid. And my mom used to do this too when she was a kid. She used to go here, so it was like kind of a generational tradition. Um, we would go to Seaside Park, um, and go to that boardwalk that you see on the Jersey Shore, on the TV show. And so yeah, we that was our spot for, not just like we owned it. The Giant State, yeah, Yursi says I've been to Jersey. The Giant Stadium is in New Jersey. Yep. So you've been here. I've never been, I don't think, to the Giant Stadium. I don't think so. Maybe. Who knows? I don't remember. Um, but one year when we went, it is Giants. Yes. No, don't be sorry. The New Jersey Devils. Yeah, the New Jersey Devils are actually bobbed by where I am, and I'll get to the Jersey Devils in a sec because I want to tell that story again too. I have a new audience, so I can tell the stories again. I can repeat myself. Um, but one uh, year we went down there, and it was not only my immediate family, but I think my cousins were with us too. And we went to the shore, and we were teenagers, so this is when the Jersey Shore was popular. Um, and we didn't know it, but they were filming during that time. Like, we didn't go there on purpose because they were filming. We just happened to go while they were filming. And we did see them, and hordes of people following them. I don't know how they can even film because there are hordes of people following them. Cameras, of course, but hordes of people following them. So I think definitely the situation was there. I don't know if we saw Snooki there, but I remember we saw the situation there. So we did see them while they were filming one year. But yeah, long story short, that unfortunately that pier was, although they have rebuilt it since then, because this was a long time ago at this point, probably nearly 10 years ago. But the pier was destroyed during Hurricane Sandy. There's famous pictures of the roller coaster, which a roller coaster I used to ride all the time. It's not funny, but maybe in hindsight, it's in the water. So in the picture, you see the roller coaster being taken away by the water. So yeah, so Hurricane Sandy totally wrecked it, but they have rebuilt a lot of it since then because that was 10 years ago. But yeah, I wouldn't come to New Jersey just for Seaside Heights though, personally. But there's New Jersey's nice, and there's a lot of nice things to do. I think honestly, I think the Pine Barrens are cooler because, like I was saying before, I'm wrapping back up to the New Jersey Devil. If you're interested in wildlife and nature, I think the Pine Barrens are pretty fascinating. There's a lot of cool wildlife there. The the kind of geography and the I guess I don't know the word for it. The way the trees are, like the trees are almost like look like Dr. Seuss trees. So I think the Pine Barrens are cooler. Um, but going back to the Pine Barrens and to New Jersey Devils, so our hockey team is called the New Jersey Devils. Bob rightfully mentioned that. And they actually play in Newark, which is pretty close to me. But they get their name from New Jersey folklore. So they don't just get their name because it's like, oh, Devils are cool or so, or like, oh, that would be a cool name, wouldn't it be, Jersey Devils? No, they get their name from New Jersey folklore. And so the New Jersey Devil is actually a beast kind of like not dissimilar from Bigfoot, right? Like a cryptid. And maybe a little bit more fantastical than Bigfoot because his origin story is a little bit more magic, I guess. Um, and so basically, what happened was, I think, let me say, 200-ish years ago, Mr. and Mrs. Leeds, who were, a nice family in South Jersey, had a large family. They had 12 children. And Mrs. Leeds said, if I have a 13th child, let it be the devil. Whoa. And she had a 13th child. And it was the devil. She gave birth to the Jersey Devil. And so now this Jersey Devil he looks almost like a dragon. He has bat's wings. He has hooves. He has a horse's face. And he's just a kind of like a monstrous being. And he terrorizes New Jerseyans, right? He's like almost like our chupacabra. He terrorizes us. He eats our livestock. He lands on our roofs and scares us. Yursi says, so they left the baby in the woods? No, I skipped a part of the story. So there's different, renditions of what happens. In some versions of the story, the Jersey Devil, when he was birthed by Mrs. Leeds, like murders her, like after he's born because he's a devil. So he like kills his mother. In other renditions, he just kind of flies off into the night because he has wings. So he just flies off, and is just goes around terrorizing New Jerseyans. So, he lands on our roofs and like scares us in the middle of the night. And about 100 years ago, there were a lot of sightings of the Jersey Devil in both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So much so that they closed off the schools and they closed work because there are just so many sightings of the Jersey Devil that it was like kind of a panic over it. Yeah, look into it. I don't remember what year it was. Obviously, I wasn't around then, but it was at least 100 years ago in the early 20th century, I think, like 1900 something. And they closed off a bunch of schools and businesses in South Jersey and Pennsylvania because of Jersey Devil sightings. Jersey says close to when I was born. No, I don't think so. Maybe. Actually, I don't know how old you are, but I don't think you're born in 1901. Bob says, if I bet on the result of the NHL match, I will put the Jersey Devils to win because it always has high odds of getting money if they ever win the match. That's good to know. I'm glad they do well, I'm assuming. That means they do well. The Jersey Devils. I don't follow sports. But yes, I like that the Jersey Devils team is named that. And also, so you know how I mentioned before that there's beef between New York and New Jersey? Well, one of the beefs between New York and New Jersey is that they always steal our sports teams. I believe the last sports team that they stole from us was the New Jersey Nets? I think the basketball team is now I think in Brooklyn or something. Jersey said, "Oh yeah, they steal our sports teams. Like the Giants are playing New Jersey, but they're New York Giants. So we don't have any sports teams, right? New Jersey's last sports team is the New Jersey Devils, and they. Oh yeah, is it New York Jets or New Jersey Jets? What is it called? Is it still? I don't think it's. I think it's the New York Jets. Now I have to look it up. Excuse me while I look this up. I think they stole it from us. Let me see. Yursi says, well, at least you still have the Jets. And I'm like, I don't think we have the Jets. New York Jets. No, it's New York Jets. They stole the Jets from us. So, Yursi proved my point. It is the New York Jets. So, but they can't steal the Devils from us because really, if they do, it won't make sense anymore. Okay, I guess not enough people know about the New Jersey Devil as like a folklore, but the New York Devils won't make any sense because it's named after the Jersey Devil. So we can't steal the hockey team from us. So our last resort is the hockey team. We should just name all our sports teams after something like very particular to New Jersey, so they can't take it from us. But alas, we can't change it. Yes, Yursi says funny. They both play in the stadium in New Jersey. It is funny, isn't it? Yeah. There's various reasons for that, but the main reason is that New York City doesn't have that much space. New York City doesn't have that much space for big stadiums like that. So all the stadiums are either in upstate New York or New Jersey. But believe it or not, for the most part, New Jersey is a little easier to get to than upstate New York from New York City. Yes, the Red Bull Arena is in Newark. Is that a New Jersey team or a New York team? I'm not sure. That I'm not sure of, but yes, it is in Newark. It's kind of close to me, like I said. New York Red Bulls. See? It's all New York. And Bob said then it would be the New York Evils. Yeah, they'd be evil. Well, I wouldn't go that far to say they'd be evil, but for stealing our last team. But yeah, it's mostly because New York City doesn't have enough room for big stadiums, so they build big stadiums in New York City and in New Jersey. In particular, there's a lot of space like in Secaucus, which is fairly close to where I am, and also fairly close to New York City. And it's basically a big swamp, but they fill in they fill in the swamp with concrete, and they build on top of it. But yeah, I actually like the swamp in Secaucus. I think it's pretty fun to look at, and it's probably not fun to go in because I bet it's mucky. But there's a lot of birds there. A lot of migratory birds stop over there. So I say keep the swamp. You know the saying, drain the swamp? I say keep the swamp. It's nice. They built a big mall there. Yeah, Yursi said they seem to do that a lot in the US. The Philly MLS stadium is in a really bad area. Yeah, the Red Bull Arena, I mean, is it in Harrison or is it? I feel like it actually is not in Newark. It's in Harrison. But either way, it's in that area. It's not the worst. Like it used to be way worse in that area. It's getting better, but it's not the best area still. But it's not it's not horrible, but it's not the best. And now I forgot what I was talking about. Yursi says they usually hope the stadium brings in money. Yeah, and it usually does, but I don't know if it the problem is if people don't feel comfortable going out into the neighborhood, it's not going to bring money to the neighborhood, it'll just bring money to the stadium. But we'll see what happens. I know they're going to host I don't know, the big soccer game. The big one, the World Cup. The World Cup is coming to the US according to my husband eventually. And I think they're actually going to play a game in the Red Bull Arena. So Yursi says yes in 2 years. So I'm sure that'll bring in a lot of tourism. So I think it in some ways it will bring in money. It's like I said, the problem is if people don't feel comfortable like actually going to the local businesses, it really won't help the local businesses if they're afraid of the area. If they think it's a bad area, they won't really go out anywhere. So that's the problem, I would say. I would say that is the problem. Yeah. Oh yeah, they were so in Secaucus where they built a lot of stuff there. Like I said, they like drain the swamps and fill it with concrete and build it there. There's a lot of empty land for them to do that there. They recently finished, well, not recently, but relatively recently finished this big, huge mall project, which they named the American Dream Mall. Now, this mall has been in, um, uh, I would say, production, in the works, I'll say, because I think for the most part, it was in everyone's minds for years. And by years, I mean like 20 years or something, 30 years. Like, it used to be called Xanadu before they changed the name to American Dream Mall, which I'm glad they changed the name because Xanadu I think is a bad name unless you're in the 80s, which I believe is when they started the project. So that might be why they had that name. So it was called Xanadu. They changed it to American Dream Mall. They actually finished it, which shocked me because I thought they would never finish that. But it's like you might have your opinions on this, but I think it's not a good idea. I know it's probably good for the businesses and stuff like that, but it's just like this huge I don't know, like monstrous thing, and it has like an obstacle course in it. I think it has a Ferris wheel in it. Like I think it has a skating rink in it. It has everything in it, and of course it has a mall, so it has all the shops and things like that. But I just didn't think New Jersey needed another mall, honestly. And this was done. I think it was finished before COVID, which was maybe unfortunate. I think it finished right before, because now I hear that malls are having trouble staying open and keeping all their stores in there because most people shop online. So, you know, maybe that wasn't a good idea from that standpoint. But yeah. Yes, Yersey. It's next to MetLife Stadium. Yes. It's a huge, huge mall. I think they could have left it a swamp, personally. Yersey says they have a sea life prison. Oh, they have an aquarium in there too. Jeez. They have everything in there. Yeah, I think they could like just not make it. Just leave it a swamp. And I'm not like, of course I want to protect the environment, but I understand that some things need to be built, like houses and in businesses, grocery stores need to be built, schools need to be like, there's some things need to be built. I understand this. I'm not like that I don't have my head that much in the sand that I'm like, don't build that everything, leave it natural. But I'm like, we don't really need another mall. Especially this monstrous one. It's almost like you built it to show off how big your mall could be. It's like feels like the epitome of like American It's called the American Dream Mall too, so it just feels like the epitome of American decadence, not American dream. And I'm just like, hey, please stop. The American dream is not shopping at Nordstrom while going in a Ferris wheel at a mall in the middle of a swamp. At least I don't think so. Okay, yeah. Yersey says she'll be right back. Yersey, we're probably going to leave soon anyway, so don't worry. Don't worry. You're not obligated to stay, Yersey. But yeah, if you're follow for updates, if you are not already following. Also, if I'm not allowed, I guess, yet until I'm an affiliate to post on Twitch, like to post updates on Twitch. But yeah, follow. I'll post updates on my about page, like my schedule and stuff. But where I post updates, like pictures of what we do and things like that, I'll post that on Instagram and YouTube. So follow me at Jersey Girl Bread Shop on Instagram and YouTube, and then you can follow like what I'm doing. If I can't post it on Twitch, and see pictures of what I've been doing. So of course do that. And like I said, next this Saturday, actually 8 a.m. Eastern time, we're going to be making Irish soda bread in honor of St. Patrick's Day. Bob, if you're still with us, we because I was gonna say for some reason, but it's not for some reason. Because of the Irish immigrants that we have in the U.S., we really celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Like we really get into it. Like people dress up as leprechauns and put green shamrocks everywhere and things like that. So not that it's a major holiday or anything, but it's more like a drinking holiday, kind of like Cinco de Mayo. But people really get into it. So that's why we're making Irish soda bread. I don't know. You can let me know because I don't know a lot about Finland. But I'm assuming in Finland you don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day that intensely. Bob says, yes, I live in the earth. Do you mean you live on earth or you live inside the earth? Do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Finland? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I always assumed that maybe not so much. That in the United States we're more gung-ho about it because of our Irish immigrant population that we have, especially in the area that I am in. There's a lot of Irish immigrants, or children of Irish immigrants. But yeah, so next Saturday we'll be doing that in honor of St. Patrick's Day. Bob says we don't celebrate, but I can't ignore it. I guess with the internet and stuff like that, it's like things have become kind of global. I'm assuming like things that might have been more localized are more global, so you see it everywhere on the internet, and people sometimes like to imitate American customs too. So that might be that might be something. Yeah. So anyway, so we'll be doing that 8 a.m. Eastern time, and the way we're doing this, the midweek toast, right now, I might change it in the future, but right now I'm doing the midweek toast every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, except for the last Wednesday of the month. I'll take a break so I can get some other stuff done on this Wednesday. So Bob says that party is in all movies and shows and probably in Ireland. Yeah, I imagine they celebrate it in Ireland, but I heard from Irish people, like Irish people actually in Ireland, that they don't celebrate it as much as perhaps we in the U.S. do. I think we take it a little too far. We made it into a drinking holiday, so people just get drunk on St. Patrick's Day. I don't, but that's what a lot of other people do. Yes, so for March, that means I'll be doing the midweek toast next Wednesday and then the following Wednesday, but I won't be here on the 27th. But you'll get an update on that on Twitch, and if you follow me on Instagram and YouTube, I'll also update there. But if you have any like suggestions too before we go, you can suggest the Irish soda bread. Like I said, I am doing it for St. Patrick's Day, but it was also a suggestion because she's not here right now, but one of my followers did ask for a bread that was quicker to make. So I said, oh, we can do soda bread. So that's why we're doing soda bread. So if you have any suggestions or you're curious about some kind of technique or something that maybe you want to learn more about, let me know. Send me a message. You can send me a message on Instagram too. I usually answer those fairly quickly. All right, guys. Well, if I feel like it's a natural place to break, I try to get it to like around 3 p.m. on Wednesdays. So, like I said, yeah, have a nice day, Bob. Thanks for coming. If you're not already following, you can follow me on Twitch and also Instagram and YouTube at Jessica Bread Shop. Hopefully you come on Saturday, and if you can't come on Saturday but you still are curious about it, it uploads on Twitch automatically and it stays on there for 7 days, and then after 7 days it does delete from Twitch, but I upload it onto YouTube. So if you still want to watch it, you can watch it on YouTube. Right. So if you miss it, you can still rewatch. So hopefully I see you on Saturday. If not, I'll see you soon and have a nice week. If I don't see you on Saturday, have a nice weekend. All right. Thank you for coming. See you soon.